The life and sad ending of Brian Wilson. Brian Wilson was born Brian Douglas Wilson on June 20th, 1942, in Inglewood, California, in the United States, as the oldest of three sons of Audree, Neva, and Murry Wilson. He, along with his brothers Dennis and Carl, drew their initial inspiration from their father, who was a musician and a mechanic. Wilson began to demonstrate his musical talent even prior to his first birthday. According to his father, he could sing the melody of "When the Caissons Go Rolling" and was extremely intelligent. A few years later, he suffered a drastic hearing loss in his right ear. While the exact cause of it had remained unknown, speculations range from him simply being born with the defect to hearing loss being a result of abuse at the hands of his father or a neighborhood bully. Wilson attended Hawthorne High School, where he played basketball and baseball and was a cross-country runner. He sang and played multiple instruments. He and his brothers, along with their cousin Mike, formed the musical act named Carl and the Passions, and they performed at a fall arts program. After graduating from high school, he started attending El Camino College in September of 1960, pursuing a degree in psychology and continuing his musical studies. Drawing inspiration from Dion and the Belmonts' version of "When You Wish Upon a Star," he created his first original melody in 1961. It eventually became the song "Surfer Girl," which was released as part of their third album, which was named after the song. Brian Wilson and his group first performed under the name The Pendletones and released their first single, "Surfin'," through Cadix Records, who, without permission from any of the band members, changed the group's name to the Beach Boys. Over a period of weeks, Surfin' began to fade out from the charts, and Cadix Records sold the band's master recordings to another record label after they encountered financial problems. Murry, who was serving as the band's manager at the time, terminated their contract with the label. The band eventually signed with Capitol Records and through them released their debut album, Surfin' Safari, on October 1st, 1962. It was a success, reaching number 32 at one point on the U.S. charts. The album Surfin' USA was released next, in March of 1963. It was their first album to be certified gold by RIAA. They became national sensations after this. Between 1963 and 1966, the Beach Boys released 8 more albums, including Surfer Girl in 1963, Little Deuce Coupe, also in 63, Shutdown Volume 2, as well as All Summer Long, and the Beach Boys' Christmas album in 1964, and the Beach Boys Today in 1965. On May 16, 1966, they put out the greatest album that they had ever made, Pet Sounds. After Pet Sounds, Wilson began to be touted as a genius, and the notion that originally circulated among the group's friends from the music industry. It was later taken up by their publicist, Derek Taylor. The band's next project, Smile, which Wilson had dubbed as a teenage symphony to God, was scrapped, leaving Wilson seriously disheartened. It was later released as a simplified version titled Smiley Smile. By the time they were working on their 13th album, Wild Honey, Wilson had started asking others to play more prominent roles in the creative process. Wilson was a heavy substance abuser. Besides the regular use of amphetamines, marijuana, and psychedelics, he started taking cocaine as well. In the late 60s, Wilson sought treatment at a psychiatric hospital for a brief period of time and was subjected to doses of lithium and electroconvulsive therapy there. The Beach Boys were in deep trouble financially. They continued to release albums, but these albums continued to underperform. In 1969, they were dropped by Capitol Records and later signed a contract with then newly formed Reprise Records. In the 1970s, following his father's death, Wilson became more reclusive and became a shadow of his past self. In 1975, his wife Marilyn introduced him to the psychologist and psychotherapist Eugene Landy and hired him to treat Wilson. He was later dropped because of his astronomical fees. In 1983, Audree was rehired and eventually became Wilson's executive producer, business manager, co-songwriter, and a business advisor. Landy's professional license was revoked by the state of California, and a restraining order was issued in 1992, barring him from ever seeing Wilson again. Wilson released his first self-titled solo album in 1988. Since then, he has released more than 10 albums. They are I Just Wasn't Made for These Times in 1995, also in 95, Orange Crate Art, Imagination in 98, and Getting Over My Head in 2004. Wilson won the Grammy Award for the Best Rock Instrumental Performance for Mrs. O'Leary's Cow and the Grammy for Best Hysterical Album from the Smiley Sessions. In 1988, and the rest of the members of the Beach Boys were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Paul McCartney inducted them in the Songwriters Hall of Fame in 2000. The Beach Boys had been plagued with multiple issues for years. Brian's mental health had been gradually deteriorating. His brother Dennis died in 1983. Carl Wilson's death in 1998 was the final nail in the coffin. The group simply splintered. Brian went on to focus on his solo career. In February of 2011, the remaining members of the group, along with David Marks and Bruce Johnston, put out a single titled Don't Fight the Sea, an effort to help victims in the 2011 Japan earthquake. They released their 29th studio album, That's Why God Made the Radio, in 2012. Afterward, the group briefly reunited with the Pet Sounds' 50th anniversary world tour in 2016. In personal life, Brian Wilson has been married twice. His first wife was Marilyn Ravel, whom he had married from 1964 to 1979. They have 2 daughters together, Carney and Wendy. He married a car saleswoman and a former model, Melinda Kay Lebenter, in 1995. The couple adopted 2 sons, Dylan and Dash. She presently serves as his manager. Probably, right now is his worst time when his health is slowly deteriorating. Thank you for listening to the story about the life of Brian Wilson. Like and comment on your opinion in the comment section below.